Yeah. So I decided, let's finish off. We started this letter. Let's finish the letter. Okay. From all the inyanim we covered this Pesach, and we covered a lot of things. We covered in depth a lot of inyanim, but this letter has an unbelievable chavivus to me. On the one hand, the Yiddish that's talking to the absolute, simplest of simple Jews, and maybe not intellectually not simple, but religiously. And then, yeah. And on the other hand, the unbelievable depth, the unbelievable, unparalleled depth in the footnotes that are unbelievable. The Mashiach will come, will teach Torah to the Mikotna Bad Godlam. How is that possible? So we see in this letter that the letter could be understood by Ahmed Tibi, Lahavdel Elef Avdolas, Elef Alfe Avdolas, and it could be understood by Oimkim, the Fnimi Oimkim, by Lamdonim and Oshishibas. One of the questions, the main theme was that there's mitzvahs Mila, mitzvahs Pesach. These two things are Chayiv Kodesh, two mitzvahs say Chayiv Kodesh, two mitzvahs say that stand out, Mila and Pesach. And you can't bring your Korban Pesach until you circumcise your son. Tonight we had the schus.
Or the Eved.
Right. And tonight we had the schus of having a bris, Baruch Hashem, Menachem Mendel. And we welcomed little baby Yeshua Heschel. I'm so thrilled with this name.
Yes.
Oh,
so he has one child and one is
yeah. Yeah, the Moil also. And the most terrific story
is from my website. You not sure actually?
No. It's his father's, Zeitlin site. There's the original Yeshua Heschel Zeitlin. There's an unbelievable story. It's Talmud the Shagasai.
Wow.
Anyway, I just want to stick to 30 minutes.
Sure, it wasn't long.
As ante as you can get.
Wow.
But there's a story that's unbelievable.
It was Moshe Nefesh. She was a male Moshe Nefesh, but it wasn't long.
No. The original Yeshua Heschel. No. That Yeshua Heschel's grandfather was a Talmud of the Shagasari. The story
20 years ago.
Yeah. And there's a story, and it's in the anyway. When the Rebbe wrote this letter, the point was that you first have to make sure the chinuch your son, then you can bring a Korban Pesach. You can have spiritual uplifting without taking care of not only chinuch, but bris b'fsarchem on your son and daughter. A lot of times the Rebbe later had in the Fabrengens. So there's a few little things you'll see, someone wanted to say, oh, the Rebbe was a little Zionistic. You'll see the Rebbe made was magia noch, like loike das hatoyim v'amatim, that I meant this and that. There's no juice over there. I'll tell you one thing that was it was very interesting, that the Rebbe later said, someone's going to say, oh, this din is only lagabi men, not lagabi women. So what's the lesson for women? So the Rebbe said that the Hiyu, a woman is mechuyev to Korban Pesach, but she's not mechuyev to be mal her son. No, she's not mechuyev to mal her son. And Shgoka Protis, we just learned Rambam, Shvisha Pesach, and the father, not on the mother. And if the father fails to do it, the Bezdin does it. He does it.
She doesn't get a veer if he doesn't.
She doesn't.
He get a
veer. And the son, ultimately, if he doesn't do it, the son gets kodesh. The father doesn't get kodesh. But still, the mother is nothing. So l'chayda, what's the lesson? The Rebbe said the answer is pashut. That Izal said, and when we say that Izal said that if Chaim Vital was made, that Arizal was the Rebbe had a Moridik Kochim. By the way, when Chaim Vital was a Talmud that Arizal was older than that Arizal. But he passed away. He was 36. He was older. He was older. When he was a student, he was older than it. He also passed away. He was a very old man. That's how he got to write so much. But he was older than that Arizal. And he was already Musmach The Mari Beirav tried to reestablish the smicha, and he gave smicha to the Chaim Vital. He was not a Katal Kanya. I mean, obviously, but no. What the Rebbe meant to say is that in Nigla Pashut, in Nigla, that he wasn't. If he wasn't Baki B'Chol HaTorah Kula Mamish, that Mari Beirav, which no one ever disputes that he was the greatness of. He tried to bring back smicha. Most of the early soul agreed with him, and he's going to be the masmich. Yosef included. And so, and the Mari Beirav masmich several students, and one of them is Reb Chaim Vital. So Reb Chaim Vital sagt the Rebbe is Hameven Aflomdes. And Reb Chaim Vital says, and here's the quote that Rebbe brings, that my Rebbe learned, my Rebbe learned like this. My Rebbe was Mohir V'Kal Ho'iyum B'Tachlis. Mohir V'Kal Ho'iyum. He had an unbelievable brain. Begashmias. The early Yisrael that worked very hard. Doesn't mean it's not a Yisrael. It's about unbelievable early Yisrael. So everybody should that he said, okay, Mr. It's a little smarter than me and you. But still, they say that his godless was round and around till he broke through. Okay? That is all no. Moyer the kal iyim betachlas. Hoya ayim bechol alocha v'alocha shlisha drochim shel pilpul v'achkach derech shviya derech hasoid. Ad shelo yanila umazia zeh gedoyle. This part I always quote. Wow. That he and the Rebbe says, why do you have to schwitz?
You worked at it so hard.
He was a brilliant. That Izal was. Shita Mukubetzes was written by Tzal Ashkenazi together with his Talmud that Izal. So I mean, in other words, a malakat all that he shown him. So still.
Should have less inside as well.
On the Gemara, yeah, on the Mashiach Shem Ezechtes. And then they had to show him that for hundreds of years later, no one had, because they lived in Egypt, and there was a lot of manuscripts. They were rich in information, and for the Dark Ages, hundreds of years later in Europe, Yeshua the Mashur, how many svarim did they have after Rahman al-Islam? So Mashmadas, but that is Tzal Ashkenazi had svarim. They really had books. They had Kisvei Yad Rambam, they had Ashkot for the. They had just like what we are zoicha to have all these. They had so the Rebbe said, and he had no dayas. An uncle, Osher Godel, and care of his expenses, so it's not a problem. So the Rebbe says there's no question. Everything that Rizal said, Pinister is always gehalten up in Nigel. The Rebbe says you can ask a shayla. When we say women are not chayiv, mitzvah seishas man grama, they're not chayiv. Conceptually, a woman is chayiv to take care of her children, change pampers. So they should say, you know what? I'm sensitive mitzvah. If the cook cooks supper, it's a dava mincha. To pamper the babies, a dava ma'ariv. They send them in the morning to school, it's a dava shachris. If they nurse the baby, they like film. So they should say, Potter, okay. But the Rebbe says, let's ask an alumdish question. Is it that they're not chayiv, or is it that they're really chayiv? Elamai, they're yoitza through their husband. And that Rizal holds befedish the second way. That Rizal says that duchra v'nukva ba'oisei mokim shem dvukim b'yachad. That's where there's mitzvah shel man grama. L'chein anoshim p'turis mitzvah shel man grama. The nukva is kalalat b'duchra im kein ba'asois ha'zochres ha'mitzvah ein ma'atzoidach shegam anoshim ta'asen alavadeno. V'kfar nechleles imoi be'esha oisa ha'mitzvah. So the Rebbe says clearly the das of the Arizal, and not the pshat that the women are potter, the women are chayiv. Elamai, the Baal is moitzi, his wife, and the mitzvah seishas man grama are those mitzvahs that are where the man and woman are connected. Go for it, right? So therefore, it's a big chiddush. Pashtus apinigla, you would think that it's not that way. Come, sit down, sit down, sit down. So you might not think that way. Pashtus, when you say women are potter, they're potter. No, she's not married yet. But you know what? There's already the announced Bas Pliny Lepliny. So, okay. So the Rebbe says, same thing, woman is chayiv, a woman is chayiv. So you could say like this. The Eibishter said that the husband can be oil.
To mother the son.
She's not chayiv, but her husband is chayiv. So not the pshat, she has zero chiyuv. Her chiyuv is smaller through her husband.
She has a chiyuv, but she'll go to the husband.
Through the husband.
Why when he doesn't do it, she's not high?
Maybe she didn't want to fixed. Oh. So the Rebbe says,
He shot that she should.
huh?
But he is shot off.
So the Rebbe says, Lama zong taket, the husband doesn't do it. So the truth is, medin she's chayiv to really do it. But on a conceptual level, the Gemara doch says that Rav Chia, his wife, used to make him crazy. And he, whenever he found something beautiful, bring a gift to his wife. He always brought nice gifts wrapped up. So Rav said to him, it's madish, she's making you crazy. So he said that Dayenu, that they raise the children, and the ikid is shematzilus is on a menachet. Simple pshat is that a person who's not married, so they can deploy it with purity of the mind. Every yeshiva bocher, the parents think that their son, a malach, will come up from him. And even though he's already so many years past when Chazal say that a person should get married, he has no machshavas mavalvelus, and he's learning Torah b'kedusha b'tahara. The whole Lakewood and the whole Lubavitch. He's giving equal criticism over here. It's not silly. It's mamish narishkeit. But the Rebbe says the oimik of kavona Chazal is that the matzilus is son of menachet, that a woman bemis is matzel her husband from every chet, because a woman has a big koyach over her husband. So Isha Ksheira Oisa, it's like Baila. Oisa, she makes Isha have a rotzen to learn Torah, to do mitzvahs, behidur, because she gives him the encouragement. So maybe she said, we'll put the chiyuv on the man, but the woman, she'll make it happen. She knows her husband. She's eating from her husband's korban Pesach. He's not going, she's not going. So she'll make sure it's done. Enough to make the chiyuv on her. Anyway, so the Rebbe says, so therefore it's not the pshat that the whole idea of a bris milah and that you can't make korban Pesach till you bring the women are not in that parsha. Anyway, it's the chayach. So therefore the lesson applies to men and women equally. Anyway, this is a
But the Russian is you can bring on Pesach till you moil your avodim and the guy the shikha. So
we'll read that inside. Yeah. So that's the thing we spoke that night, and I want to just Mama Schnell go over that again.
say how we said, right?
Yeah.
This one the previous one.
No, this is the Rebbe. So they're constantly printing these letters. The Rebbe had Moshe Reichik's father-in-law, his father, worked for the Rebbe many years, writing the letters. And there was a Sodus Delayla one day, Rabbi Simpson. He worked for the Rebbe 40 years more. He married Simpson. Yeah. So the Rebbe told him that he'd like to publish his letters. Truth is, Baruch Hashem, it's a very nice. So they worked from Ada Yoim. The Rebbe came up with this idea, 1988. It takes time to. So Ada Yoim, they're printing the Rebbe's letters. A lot of them are lost. Chaval al Da'avdin.
You didn't archive them?
Talk to Rabbi Simpson. I guess it's so many.
The Rebbe wrote more than
went out every day. So, but listen, there is a lot coming out. The ones to learn are really the ones that are not the ones that are written to individual people.
Right.
I must say, people say that they're learning Igris. Sorry, they stack up. You know what I mean?
Spend the whole day learning this.
But these, the ones that have the orders of the Rebbe made, if the Rebbe wrote a certain, I couldn't sleep a few of the nights now, so this whole sefer I read it came out cover to cover. It's interesting. The Rebbe writes to someone, it's Kedai, a lot of military people. He says it's Kedai to talk a little bit to the Kurds, to talk to the Kurds.
in Iraq.
Yeah, it's Kedai to do business with the Kurds. Another guy tells him, I don't want to take care of your military. There's a writer, Hillel Zeidman, that ever writes to him. He writes to Rebbe, how come you're not, we were chalishing, Zalman Shazar, President of Israel, asked that Chabad should establish a neighborhood in Yerushalayim, Atika. The Rebbe wrote back to him, I have money for this purpose, but I'm not doing it because I know that the government is planning to give it back to the Arabs. So he said, I spoke to Menachem Begin, he told me it's not true. So the Rebbe writes back to him, first of all, I already spoke personally with Menachem Begin, I don't trust him so much. This is before this is way before they did the Camp David Accords, and the Rebbe says the government itself doesn't know, but there's people that are borching about it. In Washington, they know about it already, but in Yerushalayim, they don't know. But then the Rebbe says, if we had unlimited funds, we could play games. But to invest in Yerushalayim and then you're going to give it to the Arabs, we can't afford that. It's stunning.
Yeah.
It's stunning. It's stunning. Where did the Rebbe?
Tunnel vision.
So,
when the Rebbe talked to you about the army, I spoke to him. He doesn't show, but you see that he knows so much about what's happening there. It's unbelievable. It's mind-boggling.
but in one of the letters he writes to military men, maybe Ramatal even, he says, I want to confess that I'm a layman, I'm not a mumche tzavai, and but I just say my opinion as a simple person.
But this opinion of simple person is more than the Ramatkal.
That's interesting. I don't think that Rebbe meant it as like, Rebbe said it, look, I'm not a military expert, I'm a Yid that sits in Latin Torah,
I'm saying the way he talked
right.
about the army, you see that he's unbelievable. I speak to him. He asked him question.
Right. Because Schwachkeit. Anyway, so let's read it quickly inside, and we'll get to that point, that unbelievable point that we spoke about in the Ha'orah. Shalom Abrach al bnei u'bnei Yisrael asher b'chol makom u'makom Hashem aleim yichyu. Shalom Abrach. Unsere Yomim Tovim wie alle Sachen von Teure und Mitzvahs haben allgemeine, gemeinsame in Jonim und euch eintartige, spezifische Strichen, der reicher, untersprechlicher Inhalt von Yomim Tovim machen möglich auszubleiben, gewisse Nekudas, welche können dienen als spezielle, zugepasste Andeutungen und Anweisungen bei speziellen Umständen in bestimmte Zeit und bestimmte Ort. That bottom line, simple English, that there is definitely from every Yom Tov we could take out points that we can apply to our time and our place. Das ist versteht sich also im Zusammenhang mit Pesach, aber mit mehr Kraft und bei Deitung nehmen dich in Acht, as Pesach is Rosh Hashanah der Golem, der Kopf von Yom Tovim, und as die Yom Tov in Tzis Mitzrayim ist der Geburtstag vom jüdischen Volk. Die spezielle Wichtigkeit von Pesach kann man sehen euch davon, wo das ist eine von die zwei Mitzvahs, was die Strafe vernimmt mit keinem seines Korns. Die dosige zwei Mitzvahs seine Milo und Korban Pesach. Beide seien euch eng verbunden zwischen sich. There's two mitzvahs that say the punishable by Kodesh. Only Mila and Korban Pesach, punishable by Kodesh. And these two are connected. Warum? Der, was hat nicht gemalet, kann nicht makar sein, der Korban Pesach. Und die zwei ist Pesach harbe der Mitzvahs, man geben Mila. Ich dort archiv zum Mal sein, euch noch auf der Zeit, aber der Korban Pesach kann man makar sein, nur in der bestimmte Zeit und nicht später. In der Prat ist aber der Korban Pesach im Ganzen ausgeteilt von allen anderen Mitzvahs und euch Korbanos. Und das ist, nicht nur der Vater darf sein gemalet, nur euch die Kinder müssen sein gemalet. Ausgeteilt. It stands out that not only is he responsible to circumcise himself, but he has to make sure his son is also circumcised. Und euber hat azun, wenn hat nicht mal gewinnt, nicht reingenommen in der Bris Eulam, ebeker Bund mit dem Eibischen, kann euch der Vater nicht bringen in the Korban Pesach. If he did not bring his son into the ebeker Bund, the eternal bond with Hashem, then the father can also not bring the Korban Pesach. We'll talk about it in a minute, the spiritual lesson we take out of it. Let's look at the bottom of the page, Nuntes. Ubas, Commandamal Yadamya. Avoid the Zorach of Zion, Omedalef. A Pisa Yeshla Hasbi. Ho, the Tvilas Hamoisa Makvotoi. Based on this Gemara, we can understand this, that not only circumcising his male, but also the females going to the mikveh will hold him back from bringing a Korban Pesach. Shatfila l'shivchus kemila la'avodim Rambam hilchus Korban Pesach sham urei mechilta sham shivchusel. I want to repeat. We spoke about this, but a little bit repeat because I think it's mind-boggling the chiddush that the Rebbe here has. One word, and it's like surprising. The Rebbe like expected people, and this is a Reb Chaim Brisker, and there's a Galanya Shtickelteuf from Dopa Varsky and Aplaya Susfer, and Imam Pesach, and the Rebbe has one word, and Taki found a bomberaya to the Rambam. So again, what's the shaila? So the shaila is like this. The Rambam says that Shem Shemilas Atzmaim, it's Korban Pesach, hey. Pedike Alocha, hey. Shem Shemilas Atzmaim Akvote Malasis Pesach, Kach, Mila, Azbona Vaklanim. Then he says also, Palavoda. Okay. V'chein Tfilas Amoisav L'Shem Avdus, Makvato. That Moshe Rabbeinu told us that whatever the Mila does for the Avodim, the Tefillah does for the Shvachis. That Ivet argues, that Ivet says,
if somebody has a shipper and she's not Tevel, he cannot bring her.
He can bring Korban Pesach.
He could be that he made bris milah for him, he made a bris for his son, but he has a shipper and she's doing Tevel, he can bring Korban Pesach.
Right, he can bring Korban Pesach.
Jewish shipper?
Huh?
This is the Rambam.
This is the Rambam. I'm reading the Rambam. This is hey. Pedike Alocha, hey.
This is a Jewish shipper?
She was bought in this Goyish slave market.
Right.
You're not allowed to have a shifch or evet that you just buy like this. You have to make them Jewish. Now, while they're your servants, their status is sort of suspended. The male get a mila tvila, and the females just get tvila. While they're your servants, they're just chayav b'mitzvahs kenoshim.
Definitely makabel mitzvahs in the mikvah.
They don't have to be makabel, but if they don't want, you can't be makayim in chatchila.
The male servant.
If he tells you, I'm not planning to do the mitzvahs, it's either you sell them back to the market of slaves, or whatever. You can't just, I don't know if you can't force. If he tells you, I'm not planning to keep the mitzvahs, so you sell them back to the slave market.
The male servant is not chayav in timely mitzvahs, or
No, he's a Jew like a woman, and the day he becomes free, he becomes like a man.
so he's only chayav in anything that
Like a woman,
chayav.
like a woman's
Mitzvah
kind. He's almost Jewish. The day he becomes, he gets the get shirichur, he's 100% Jewish.
Oh, wow.
So the Ravid says, but Tosefta the Pesachim b'dvorim shebem Pesach Mitzrayim lepech doros. It's not true. This is in the Tosefta. It says that was only kept a Pesach Mitzrayim, not a Pesach doros. So the Kesef Mishnah says, he says the Hachi Isa Hasam the Tosefta. Pesach, Echet Pesach Mitzrayim, Echet Pesach Doris, Mishel Avodim Shalem Olav Shvach Shalei Tavlu, Makven Oisem Alech La Pesach. That doesn't matter. Pesach Mitzrayim, Pesach Doris. If you have a male or female, they gotta have Tvilo Milo. Tefillah for the female and Mila for the male. Rebbe Lezer ben Yankov Oimer ani bepesach Mitzrayim akosov medaber. I say no, it's not true. It's only bepesach Mitzrayim. Okay, Rabbeinu Pasuk Tanakam. The Ravid holds like Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov. Why? Because there's a cloud. The loch is like Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov Mishnah Kavanok. He says, oh, the Ravid is wrong. Only we pass like Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov in the Mishnah and not in the Tosefta. Okay, and the Ravid is going to say the loch is always like Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov. But the Vaisus, because there's a Moiridik Goan. Everything he wrote, Pshat, Remez, Drush, sorry, Moiridik Sefer. So on this question that I first he has Pshat, let's leave Remez, Drush, Soid for right now. The Pshat was like so clear. He says, I understand. He said the Rambam is obviously right. He says the Pasuk is only talking about the male. O Evedish, Malta, Oisam, Vazir, Chaboy. And the Gemara in the Bavli says that you must circumcise in Yavamas Daf Ayin, your male, and that's Ladoidus. So Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov probably is arguing on the Bavli. Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov says, Oimer ani bepesach Mitzrayim akosem medaber. So Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov has the right to argue on the Gemara, but we paskin like Stama Deshas. That's Nakuda. I'm just summarizing his whole Nakuda. So very sharp. It's very sharp, but that David could answer back. You know, an argument like this you can never win. I'll tell you what David's going to say. Very simple. David's going to say there's a diuk when I said I wasn't arguing about the male. I was only arguing the female. And Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov said that Pesach Mitzrayim Akos Medaber. There's a psadiuk, a loshen, an extra word in that pasuk that teaches us the female. And on that, Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov was arguing. And that the halach is like Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov. And Tztaka Mashma, that Ravid was only arguing Lagabi Tfilas HaMoisa, because he quotes, V'chein Tfilas HaMoisa, Ama Avram, B'tosefte, B'dvorim Shabim Pesach Mitzrayim Pesach. Ama is a female, and Eved is a male. Ama Shifcha is the same thing.
He's Hama.
Amoisa.
From which past? The Rav is being arrived from which?
No, the Rav is saying that. What are you telling me? Tfilas Hamoisa. That's only the first Pesach. So the Naisus says, but wait a minute. The Gemara says befeidish that the males have to be circumcised, and that's the halacha, and that's not only from Mitzrayim, but it's always. So, and Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov says that no. Pesach, Omer ani bepesach Mitzrayim akosov medaber. So obviously, Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov was arguing in our Gemara. So there's no contest. How could Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov win over a Stama Deshas?
Maybe Shifras and the men are different.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. No, the Maistok it can't be because the pasuk never said anything about Shifras. It was so extra word. The Yukad Dikra, one word in that pasuk, as you see in the Sunnah. And that's what he meant. He wasn't arguing with the males. It's not mashman that Ived was arguing in the males. The Bnei Yisrael is a beautiful pshat, but you're never going to win. That Ived is a really smart guy. But the Rebbe found a beferish mechilta. Beferish mechilta, you can't wiggle out. Where's the mechilta? The Rebbe says shifchoi sel, one word. The Rebbe thought that everyone's going to chap. Cause the oilam at nish gechapt. So the Rebbe wrote a note to explain. Look at almost in the last paragraph. But mechilta shifchoi sel. Mine la shaila. L'chayra machilta sham linyan tefillah l'shem baschoyrim. Heshiv tveit kedushas hadmoir. Gefi amuva b'yavamas. Yavamas daf mem gimel. How did I know it's Yavamas mem gimel? I had to get brach in the cup until I did a search here and a search there until I found it. How am I supposed to know which Gemara Yavamas? Gefi amuva b'yavamas. Then the curse of Hagedis. Because I looked in the Mechilta, the Netziv, and the Netziv says to look in the Ramban in Yavamas Daf Lamed, and then from the Ramban I got to the Gemara. Kifi Amuva B'Ki Yavamas, the Netoisev Hagiyoidis B'Mokim Shifchesah Avadel Oy Niska Klal Inyan the Pesach Rag Ben Agei Lagedus Vashenke Ben Achilta. Mistaber the Gamben a girl of Pesach Kamashmalan, the Shif Chosebem Yuchid Kamashmalan, Shapi Zebuvonim Koki Malashinoim. Now that it was kind, he said so many words. By now, you should have gotten it. So I'll explain, and then when you read it, you'll see what the Rebbe is saying. The Rebbe is saying is like, again, I mentioned it already. The Gemara in Daf Mem Gimel says a story about Brulia. She was a very rich woman. She wanted to become a Geyoidis. And Beluria. Yeah.
That's a new one.
So Beluria wanted to become Jewish. Rich woman from like the Roman aristocrat. And she went with her male servants. Some of them toveled before and some after her. So Chazal said those that toveled before her are Bnei Choy. But Rashi says why? A goy can't own a Jew. So as soon as they were tovel, they're really 90% Jewish. They're like quasi-Jewish. They're missing a get shichur, but they're Jewish. So who owns them right now? She can't own them. She's a shiksa. So they have to be Bnei Choy.
She's not Jewish. How could she be toivel?
She didn't play with it.
The guy dumps his show. It's a funny thing.
I don't know. Yeah, it's okay. It's like with the cash.
They got brissies.
Probably before. So,
She didn't. In this whole course,
but obviously they must have
getting
got.
brissies. She didn't even go to the mikveh yet.
No, and then she went, and then the other ones were her. That's what the Gemara says. And it's a big that daf in Gemara is a very difficult daf, but it ends up being everything there halacha. So then, this Mechilta, the Mechilta brings the same story with 3 changes from our Gemara. The Mechilta brings the same story. Maise, you can see the Chayas HaKodesh are in my study. The Maise Bevluria Shetavlo Mixas Shifchoisea Lefonel Umiktsas Lacherel Bo Maise Lifnei Chachamru Amru Eshetavlo Fanel Neis Choydin Lacherel Mushabadis Afal Bekain Umshu Adyoy Maise. So the Rebbe asks like this: that Lachoyda, there's 3 shinuyim that Mechilta has from the Bavli. In the Bavli, she's called Beluria Hagiyoidis, and in the Bavli, she went with her male. Here, she's going with the female. What's the Geshen? In the Bavli is Nasugya talking about Giyoidis, and here's talking Nasugya about Korban Pesach.
This is the
3. This is the Mechilta.
Wow.
Mechilta, written by Rabbi Shmuel. This is Mechilta de Rabbi Shmuel. So 3 differences. Is a Tanya. Rabbi Shmuel, the Bar Plukta of Rabbi Akiva.
He was a yo.
No, Rabbi Akiva was a ger. Rabbi Shmuel was Shmuel Yuches Yisrael. So 3 differences. Here in the Gemara in Daf Mem Gimel Yavam is talking the contest of Geirus. Here is Pesach. There it mentioned Beluria Geirus. Here not. There it says she went with the male. Here with the female. Which one did she went with the male or the female? Which one? Decide. So the Rebbe says, over there we're talking Adin in Geirus. Here we're talking Adin in Korban Pesach. The Mechilta is trying to tell you halacha that just like the Avodim have to have a milah, the Shvachis have to have a tefillah. The Gemara over there, that's why the Gemara says the point is Adin in Geirus. And that's what we're talking over there about avodim. Here, shvachis, you want to say a din about shvachis, that they have to take on the mikveh in order to eat the Korban Pesach. And this is a slam dunk raya. This the Ravid cannot get out of. It's a stamma de mechilta. Very hard to go away from a stamma de mechilta. If you have a tesefta where there's a machloikis, and then you have a stamma de mechilta, so the Ravid could say, I still think that Rabbi Yaakov is stronger. But then the Ravid, we don't know what the Ravid had or not. I don't know. Help the Eibishter that I found that there's a Mechilta that Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, this was very unknown, this Mechilta. It was published, like I mentioned, it was published in the year Tafshin Tezvav by some scholar. It's like
It's not even in the Zohar.
It's so, and it must be authentic, yeah. And because these scholars they work very hard on this, and in the Mechilta it says Malta Oisa Yochel Boy. Zed Rabbi Shemar LaAvodim Shlei Malu Shvachish Shlei Tavlu Ma'akim Moisa Lechem B'Pesach.
This is clear.
It's so clear. And then to make it a little more exciting, it brings here the story of Brulya. It brings it the story of Brulya. One pop up. So I think that's why it's okay to get rid of that one copy because everything was mumble jumble with coffee here. So it brings the story of Brulya and says that Brulya went Imavadel Vishivkoisel. So the story, there was not three stories. She went Imavadel Vishivkoisel. The Bavli decided to talk about the Avodim because they wanted to bring out the Sugi of Gatus. And the Mechilta, the Rebbe Shmuel, only spoke about Shvachis. He just wanted to talk about the Chiv of Shvachis, the Gabi the Carbon Pesach. And the Rishbi did us a favor and bring us the whole story. And Takazoi, like I thought I made a discovery, but it's not such.
It couldn't be separate times.
Couldn't
be that she went in the two stories.
I like to think that it was one story. The Bavli wanted to emphasize the Avodim part, like Abigatis. And the Mechilta wanted to emphasize the Shvachis, like Abba Korban Pesach, and Shem Bachai brought the whole thing. But the ikid is that then I found a long piece of work from Reb Menachem Mendel Kasher. So Moedik Talmid Chochem. Unfortunately, not such a mutzlichdik son. He was a big judge, a famous judge in Israel, Asaf Kasher.
Yeah, I remember the name.
Yeah. But his father was a Goan Otzim. He was a Gerech Chosid. And he wrote the sefer called Torah Shlema. Anyway, he came up with a theory that even though until Mr. Hoffman, Mr. Epstein published Mechilta der Shem Bechai, he says he thinks that Rambam had it. And he brings 50 proofs or more. Proof 37 is this Rambam. It says Chamachloikis.
Right.
Like Tanakama or Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov. And how did the Rambam know that the halach is not like Rebbe Lezer ben Yaakov? Because it's a beferish mechilta that Reb Shimon ben Yochai. So that's the Saraya 37 that the Rambam had mechilta that Reb Shimon ben Yochai that we didn't have until a couple of years ago. But anyway, the Rebbe didn't see the mechilta of Reb Shimon. The Rebbe brought a brilliant raya from the mechilta that we do have, and with one word, shifchaisel. And the Rebbe thinks that the lomdus is so geschmack. And like I said, the lomdus I found that Reb Chaim Brisker has the same lomdus, Taka. The lomdus that the Rebbe says is the Eibishter wanted that you have to circumcise the male and female. Well, how do you circumcise a female? Saudi Arabia, they have a way, but
The Bedouin.
yeah, the Bedouins. Exactly. So when a woman toivels in the mikveh, she becomes Jewish. So by Jewish woman, we say command mal yadam. It's not a joke. When a woman says that God put a sign in the flesh of a Jew, it's not a joke. The Eibishter puts his signature in the flesh of a Jew. The flesh of a Jew is not the flesh of a human being. It's a halika goof. The goof of a Jew is holy, is sanctified. So by a male, it's like we did today. We was to be machnas a baby, l'brisa shel Avram Avinu. You take the orlo and you cut it off with a knife. But by a female, the Eibishter says, "Command the mal yadam." I put the bris in the bossa. Shiksa. You don't say command the mal yadam. So when she toivels, it's command the mal yadam, and that's Meduyik says the Rebbe in the Rambam. That the Kabbalah from Moshe Rabbeinu was not that you have to toivel your shiftas before you go on Pesach. The Kabbalah from Moshe Rabbeinu was that Shatvila l'shvach is Kamila la'avodim. When I told you have to circumcise the male, by the way, Moshe Rabbeinu said B'Torah Shabbat that the females there's nothing to cut in their skin, but when they go to the mikveh, so in command the mal yadamya, it's as if you made a milah for them. So. And all of this, the Rebbe thought that Olam will happen by this one word he wrote, Shifchaisel. You look in the Machilta, you look in the Ravid, you look in the Kesef Mishnah, a little bit pay attention, and then you'll have that there's a chap over here in the Machilta. And why did the Rebbe want to say it? Because he wanted to get that don't tell me that only your sons you have to educate, not your daughters, because your daughter is also your mechuyev mila. And if theoretically, if you didn't circumcise your daughter, you couldn't. But the daughter, you don't have to circumcise. The Eibishter already put brisri b'fsarche.
It's made for the daughter. It's stronger than the male.
It's stronger, right? That Kadosh Baruch Hu did it.
Yeah.
But that's what the Rebbe wanted to say. There's no such thing that women are nifka. They don't have the mitzvah of mila. Again, like pashtas, the women that don't miss out. Like Tosis asks. Tosis asks in brachas daf chofos chafalef. How could the women say abris shechasamta b'serenu? They don't have a bris. So the answer that some of the Rishonim give is because isha command damya, that a woman, she has a mila. Gav urche, if a goyish woman should thank the Eibush after she finishes eating, she can't say it. She can't say many other things. But anyway, this for sure they can't say. So this is the Rebbe's chidush. And anyway, I just figured more.
I always was thinking, how come Birkat Hamazon, you say Ve'al Beritcha Shahatam Pel Yisrael, just for the male. So what
Now you know it's also.
Now it's for the female too.
Turn the page. Let's do quickly another little piece. For them, this is we're past the time.
When the Paul said, what a zera, every boy. Say what the worst zera, b'chol habat hachayim. It's good. When the Rebbe says what Pharaoh mine was, that the girl should marry the Egyptian and have Egyptian kid. That's even worse than
nice.
Yeah.
Nice view.
Yeah. Let's read the next piece. So the next piece is like this. Let's read that one. Let's read it. Sorry, first quick. Kotscherin für Karbonis reingerechnet, der Korn Pesach ist Schechner in der Zeit von Pesach Mikdash wird erst beneit werden in der Pesach Mikdash, wird wieder aufgebaut werden durch Mashiach Tzidkenu, und doch aber bewusst, dass alle Jahre mit Teure, was sie ist ein Nitzchisdike vermogt in sich und haben klare und praktische Anweisungen im tagtäglichen Leben, in alle Zeiten und alle Erde. Even though Karbonis is only in the time of the Pesach Mikdash, but there is a eternal lesson. Oh, what do you mean Karbonis is only in the base of Mikdash? L'chayra Karbonis could be also today. So the Rebbe says, Yidua Shakla V'tarya, Maskal B'seif Kafta V'fere, Shut Chsam Seifer, Binyan Tzion, that if you could bring Karbonis today, L'chayra B'chas HaShagaloni, Smeichim B'vilyan Irech, V'noichel Sham Min Azvachim Min Apsachim. So it's mashma that you can only eat the Korban Pesach once the base of Mikdash is rebuilt. I told you once the story that Rav Zon Chalab Zon Lichtig he passed away last year. He was a Manal in Yeshiva University. His Zayd was Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Chalab. He was very close to Rav Kook. He was a very spiritual man. And he had a kirva to the Chofetz Chaim. Chofetz Chaim wrote him a telegram asking him if he could organize with the yeah, he wants to bring he's considering to come to Yerushalayim. He wanted to be oil at Israel, and he was considering to bring a Korban Pesach. So he said if he can go to the Turkish consulate and get him permission to be oil Harabayis. What was Korban Pesach about Betuma?
You want to go on top of that?
Yeah. Ad kedei kach. Anyway, Rabbi Chalab said his grandfather said, "No way, I'm not doing it. It's too dangerous. But if you want to talk to the Russian consulate." But anyway, his Zayda was given a clean kind. It's not like he's given a gross match. But I'm saying to the extent that the Chofetz Chaim had it in his mind. But anyway, the Rebbe says from the Brachas Mashma that first you have to have the Beis Hamikdash. V'sham noichel, that Smeichem bevinyan idirecha. First we're going to have the Beis Hamikdash, and then we're going to eat min azvachim min apsachim. Right, exactly. So then in the Sikha, I don't know why the Rebbe said that people wrote to him that Kilo from the letters Mashma, that he thinks that 67 captured Yerushalayim, it's Kilo, they already built Yerushalayim. Yeah, so the Rebbe said, I don't know, I never. So upset. The Rebbe said, oh shoot, look in the bottom. That's the Rebbe was making a piece of the Sikha to put it under the letter. It's Poshut Shekaron of a binyan Yerechel, the binyan Yerushalayim, Shebizman Agula. Shlozem skabnem the tefillah sky came upon B'choyon. The Shlai Mircha Berachim Toshav B'nei Yosef Ben Yanoyla.
You don't like the hook statements?
Huh?
You don't like the hook statements?
V'choysim Baruch Et Hashem B'nei Yerushalayim. V'nichlu Mashkotzav Rambam. V'shiach B'nei Mikdash. Kotzav Rambam B'nei Mikdash. Davke B'nei Mikdash B'nkoimem Tzibon B'shir Vada. V'kotzav B'nei Shalaim Hashem. V'nei B'michtav Shirashab. V'bir Der Chazal. V'kotzav Zeh B'siyum Nitzvit Tzolfanas. So obviously I didn't mean that. Until Mashiach rebuilds Yerushalayim and the whole Beis Hamikdash, he's only Chetzkas Mashiach. Okay, then on the other hand, it says, "Moving Sha'ora Bo Rak Lahoyer." Kein benusach brocha achro benegel hashakal b'tayda d'fshoris akorvas kom Pesach b'zman hazeh. She arei habrocha b'siyuma benegel adula. Shin mefarish oz noicha. Let me say, you can't bring out halacha from a lotion brocha. There's a huge discussion in Poskim if you can bring a korban Pesach b'zman hazeh. You're going to say because the lotion of the brocha in the Agoda is that we're asking the Eibush they should rebuild the Beis Hamikdash. Shem noichel min hazvochem p'sachim. Is it that before the rebuilding Beis Hamikdash you can't? We'll rebuild and then for sure we're going to eat the zvachim the p'sachim. You can't bring a raya from. But a little bit it sounds that way that it said. So I just was matzayin to it. Just as a. The Rebbe is saying I'm not getting involved.
Well, the Rebbe told people to go out from Yerushalayim.
Right.
Then he changed.
So the Rebbe, exactly. The Rebbe was mesupik about it. That's why the Rebbe said in Tov Shin Chav Ches that all of Avitches must leave. That was very difficult. From before Lois Shach, they should leave and should come back. Yeah, because whatever is Tezvav Mil, yeah. Yeah, because the Rebbe said it's a chasofik. You got a lot of Gedolei Yisrael hold. And the Rebbe said, I don't have an opinion about it, but Ken Lach Nishvis chasofik. The Reis is
would have said it.
No, because it wasn't a gay.
Why? It was used in Yerushalayim.
No. Here the word. They were Yidden living, but there was no possibility for them to bring the Korban Pesach because they had the Rishus. Next year, the Shonachet, as the Rebbe said, seeing the Shlamazal in the Israeli government, they gave it back to the Waqf, and it's Sakonos Nefoshes. So anyway, it's not Shaykh. Bottle Gzeh, the Shoino, and that was it. So, Kalkul Seinu, Takan Seinu.
Right.
The first year that I was very concerned. But the Gedolei Yisrael felt that you could bring a Korban Pesach B'zman Hazeh, that it's a Shaila of Isa Koris if you're in Yerushalayim on Erev Pesach. So he said the Lubavitchers should leave. He didn't want to make it a big thing. He just, like, all Lubavitchers should leave by Elois HaShachar. And then just next... There's a little bit of eye in the Brocha. The first is the Geula. The Rebbe said, how can you say that this is Chaskal to the Geula, the Choshech Chasa Eretz, and how can you make Choshech La'or? And the Rebbe spoke about it later, the Fabrengen. Okay. The Rebbe shall help from the Takta V'Shahom, the Emesh Geula, and the Emesh Goyel. We shall have Smeichen Bevinyan Irecha,
Amen.
Sosem Avodasecha, Sham Noichel Mina Pesach Hasheni.
Amen.
Amen.
It's Hasheni.
If somebody is mal or got the geo between, it's like because
Okay. And Befratos.
Good. We were good to learn. Well, I know why. We're doing a good judiciary secret for your father for attention.
What?
Good. Yeah.
Oh, huh?
we didn't get split.
No, but we were. I most of the Indian of the Noshim. And most about Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
There was a few more geschmack things.
Yeah.
Take it home, man. Other things are not so hard.
I can't hear the signature.
Oh.
Google Translate was a very nice try.
Oh yeah?
Because the Shiur to understand, but it was very hard to hear this.
Yeah.
If you want English to enjoy
I enjoy this letter so much. The same Mashiach Tzidkenu will teach the Kotna V'Agdoino that the Ayid, the Apostle Pshutim, that was the Yiddishist, could read it, and either Talmud Chochem can say Chidushim.
Yeah. Well, right.
Wow, such a special schus.
He says no many.
Unbelievable.
What do I know?
When I was in the Bronx, I used to say, "You're the center of attraction."
What did you lose there?
Couple Jews.
Whenever I see that, whenever I see that, usually Bronx follows.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Huh?
This is, say three grandsons already born. Go ahead, a granddaughter, last day, hallelujah.
Hella mazel tov.
So Shelsky is in his own ways, I could say beyond.
Shkoyach for everyone that joined us tonight.